Hello, 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 and welcome to the Radiant Rebirth online retreat where we are igniting our age of empowerment, owning who we truly are, gaining clarity of direction so we can take that soul-aligned action with joy, grace, and ease. Today, I am joined by Dr. Amirah Hall. Dr. Amirah is an internationally recognized clairvoyant healer. She's an author, a speaker, a teacher, and is a matrix energetics practitioner, amongst other things. Dr. Amirah, thank you so much for joining us here today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I really, really honor you for all this amazing work you're doing and contributing to our growth.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love the community that's being built around us. So thank you so much for joining us today. So Dr. Amirah, can you explain to us a little bit more about our topic? I'm very excited about our topic, becoming a conscious creator, becoming a conscious creator. And as I say that, I just feel just such energy going through my body. Can you explain to us a little bit more about what that means?
You know, it's a great question because I think I've been on my journey now for over 40 years trying to uncover that myself. I remember one of the very first trainings I took while I was still living in Edmonton, Canada, the Master Key to Riches. And it was really about conscious creation. It was based on the foundation and teachings of Napoleon Hill, right?
Mm,
That's what we think we create. And so my journey evolved over time and with many, many different trainings and modalities. And I've always been wanting to be a conscious creator, right? Manifest more. That's the big goal, the law of attraction, all that stuff. Many people get sidelined and distracted with I think the hype,
mhm,
perhaps even seductive marketing, right? So it's
mhm.
for me been a lifelong journey. And it wasn't until I've been a great manifester. So that's always been my jam. Except after I had a near-death experience, it's like somebody unplugged me
Oh,
and all my program or my software went berserk.
okay.
And so it was like my life, I got slammed. It was like a cosmic 2x4 hitting me to get my attention,
Wow.
to consciously create. What does that mean? And it took me on a journey of trying to figure out who and what I am and what in the hell is all this about? How do I get to create? How do I have good health and well-being,
Mhm.
relationships, my career, and having all the things that I want that are important to me? And as we evolve or grow in our life, there's different stages of all those things. But
Mhm.
really, it's a balancing act to have all of that. And I figured there's got to be an easier way. There's got to be an easier way. And that's when I really kind of I had to come back to me,
Mm,
and I started learning about physics. Well, I didn't know it as physics back then. I just knew it was energy and energy
right.
tools. And I started to piece all the bits together of what I learned in my near-death experience. But I was basically tapping into the quantum field.
Okay.
And that was even a bigger mind stretch because I'm like, well, how does that help me create consciously?
Mm,
And it was really learning a system, basics, and a foundation to build upon that nobody taught me. And I don't know about you, and I don't know anybody that was taught this, understanding that we are energy.
yes.
And as a spiritual, energetic being, that energy precludes the physical body.
Mm,
And so we haven't been trained how to navigate and understand
mhm.
that true conscious creation happens when the spirit and the body come close together. But you've heard before, I'm sure, of clients and people around us. I know I had my own trauma. I
Mm,
didn't understand that my emotions, my experiences, and all of the situations that I experienced in my life were kind of like working like it was stored like an archive in my software, my energetic field.
right.
And that's the first principle is we have to be able to clear that kind of a reboot on our computer. When we can do that, we can be more present, more
Mm,
aligned, more conscious of our
mm,
creations. You know, in my near-death experience, one of the things I learned was that it was my emotions and my stinky thinking, you know, belief systems that I bought into were creating my dis-ease,
mm.
my dysfunction, and the destruction of my dreams, the destruction of my goals. And so, how can we be conscious creators when all this noise, this stuff, this we don't see the stuff? Oh, I dealt with that. Oh, that guy, you know, that was 10 years ago. Oh, you know, no, that's way behind me. No, it isn't.
Right. That's
Good
right.
news, bad news, you know? And so that's how we become conscious creators, is deal with that. And so that the spirit and the body can come close together. And that's where the magic happens.
Mm.
Have you ever been in the zone?
Oh, yes. Oh,
When
yes.
you're in the zone, you know it.
That's right.
And I think that's why we're so attached to orgasms.
Mm,
I
mm.
know that's way out there, but it's probably not where you want to take this conversation, right?
I love that that's where
Talk
it was.
about an explosion of creation,
That's
you
right.
know, at the purest form, but we all strive to get back into that zone,
Mhm.
that feeling of oneness, that connection, the vibration. We can do
Mm.
anything when we're doing, well, not anything, but you know, but we feel so, you know, incredible. And I think that's what we're striving to experience in our everyday human journey.
That's
We
amazing.
want to be creators. We are creators, period. But then the consciousness isn't aligned with that. And then
Mhm.
once we start overthinking, I think that's a big sabotage.
That's right. That's
Miss,
right.
Miss Virgo.
I know, right? I know.
Calling you out. Yeah.
Calling me
No,
out.
I got Capricorn earthing that grounds me, but we can overthink. When we get overthinking, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make.
That's exactly right. And you and I were speaking about this in our last conversation about, so many of us kind of living from the neck up and missing out on all of the wisdom that goes on in the rest of the body. And so maybe we can touch a little bit on that about why this process of conscious creation is so important for women in this age of empowerment, learning how to do this in this age, over 50, wonderful age, where for me, it feels like I'm tapping into a new power center in this time period. But why is it so important? Or why would it be important for women stepping into the age of empowerment to really understand this process?
I'm a little older than you, and I think that, you know, as I was coming into my professional world, there was like, you got to do it. You can do everything and do more and do more. And it's like we did do more, and we had to run, you know, be exceptional to stand out at all. And you know, I'm a victim of burnout probably 2 or 3 times, and I think a lot of women do that. And the way I see it now as a clairvoyant, I can see the energetic dynamics of what's going on. And what we end up doing is using the third chakra, our power center, and pushing and pushing and
Right.
pushing. So, you know, I think it's a misnomer to do more.
Mhm.
We have to undo what we've been doing and come back to the brass tacks, the form, the original essence of who we are, and relearn some of that.
Mhm.
Really connect with that feminine energy. And just for anybody that doesn't realize, it's not about a female being feminine energy. It's I run feminine and masculine energy in my body, but most of us ladies, especially over 50, we're pushing through that third chakra. Do more, go get it, go get it. You got to do more. And that energy is shifting,
Mhm.
and it's not working like it once did. It's like someone broke the system. Maybe we did, pushing too hard,
Mhm.
uh, and trying to get our way, trying to be seen, trying to be validated,
Mm.
be important and loved,
Mm.
loved for who we are as amazing beings. So I'm kind of getting lost in that whole push that we do. So I think it's learning how to pull back our energy. It feels counterintuitive and opposite to what we think is going to do it. But I found working with clients is that, and I've been doing this 24 years, I've witnessed so many professional women, that, and even stay-at-home moms, we're doing the same shit. None of us have been taught. So it's literally learning how to pull back your energy. And that literally, it works like a magnet. And the things that we want to happen or to occur or to connect, they just magically start happening. It gets in that zone again.
Yeah.
It's effortless. It becomes effortless. So to me, in the work I've done, it's really amplified the fact, getting back to understanding who we are and the energetics that we're creating are creating for us. Unconsciously, unknowingly, we're creating all the drama and all the shit in our life that we don't like. And that might be a hard pill for some people to swallow. But once you digest that and go, okay, now what do I do? Okay, there is a way. There's a very expeditious, effortless way to get more of what you want. Be happy.
I love that. Just be happy. And I quite often say, more comes from the undoing than the doing, this kind of taking a step back and just sort of bringing yourself into presence and being and grounding.
But how do we be present? See, that's where I talk about this. And this is a hard concept. I get that. It's only through, and we're not going to learn through a conversation. You might get a hit, but the real work occurs when you have a guide and you're plugged into it, because it's an experience. Somebody can tell you about driving a car, but it's not until you get behind the wheel on a scary freeway and you're a country bumpkin, you've been driving in the country, and then you get on a scary freeway in the city. I mean, that takes on a whole new level of driving, right?
Beautiful.
And it's like that. You can't understand it until you get into it. And how do we get into it? How can we get into that groove? How do we find that? Because like yourself, me too, I've had many of those. Yeah, I'm in the zone. I love it. Yeah, things are chugging along and it's great. And then till it's not. And then, well, holy shit, what happened?
What happened? How did I get here?
And then that's where, especially if you've been a successful professional, I work with a lot of super achievers and highly successful individuals. And they're like, they've dug themselves out and they figured it out the hard way till they can't. That was like me, it's just like, I'm doing everything right. What the hell?
Yeah. Similar.
The formula is broken. Somebody changed the lights, move the switches to the lights. They're not working anymore.
It's not working in the same way. And we stop being able to, take those normal steps that, well, this has worked 5 million times before. Why isn't it working now? The system is broken. So what are some ways, and you mentioned, presence is really about connecting to the guide, connecting to that guide. How can our audience, what are some ways that our audience could maybe find to connect to that part that will help guide them through these, back to themselves, really connecting back to themselves?
The very first tool I teach, the tool that we go over and over and over, and I've got clients that have worked with me for years, is, and I think it's a hard thing for us to incorporate, is grounding. You mentioned it earlier, but what is grounding? To me, grounding is being present. Well, how do we get present? When we're worried about the kids, got to think about I'm running late for my job, I got to transfer money from the bank account. We're thinking about all these things that are supposedly getting easier with computers, but it's like I don't know about you, but some companies just paying rent, there's 3 apps, it's like not easier. And so we're not grounded when we do that, and so you come into the house, you got your arms full of groceries, you drop the keys down somewhere. Where did you put them? Or you're driving down the road and you miss your exit. How come? Oh, I was worried about my kid at school, or I just got a call from the teacher. So practicing, what I teach my students is from the base of your spine right now, while you're listening, just imagine a little gold ball at the base of your spine. you can have your eyes open.
Mm.
You can now when we do it for meditation, yeah, that's closing the eyes. But if you're driving your car right now,
Oh, yeah.
you don't want to close your eyes.
Not normally.
And like a lot of people, they're multitasking. So whatever the hell you're doing,
Mm.
just notice, drop that line. I like to use a laser beam or an image in my mind, like a USB plug or
Mhm.
cord that's magnetic. And it just imaginarily, I just made up that word, in your imagination, just plug it into the center of the planet, like just a click,
Yeah.
just like that. And
Mhm.
then just notice that it shifts. If you're really tuned into yourself, you go,
Mm.
I just felt more solid. I just
Mhm.
felt a little more present.
Present.
And then we can widen that, just widen. Imagine in your mind, you just widen that grounding to meet the edge of your hips.
Mm.
Just notice it's easy. You see, your whole electrical system, your spinal column is all releasing right now.
Mhm.
So you can be really alert and present and tuned in. So when you're, mixing a cake batter or you're, cleaning the windows or you're, I don't know, figuring out what to pack for your next trip, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever simple little mundane activity to practice this,
Mm.
you will respond like you won't fly off the handle, perhaps. Why? Because your kid comes in and announces they got kicked out of school, as an example. Then you just don't go, holy, I'm going to kill you, right? You get to, okay, let's sit down. Let's talk about it. What happened?
Mm.
You will respond to the situations that you weren't expecting that smacked you or punched you in the gut, like you didn't see that coming. You'll find option B, C, or D, like
Yeah.
how can I respond differently? So you have better control of your emotions
Mm.
and or the situation. You will respond, you'll be a different person. You can ground yourself sleeping. You will wake up refreshed. You
Mm.
will be ready to rock and roll. You won't be like, oh shit, I can't do anything until I get a cup of coffee. Don't
Yeah.
talk to me, some of those
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So there's little ways. I mean, of course, I use that tool in the very first tool with every single meditation I teach.
Wow.
And so it's a very integral part. How does this happen? The spirit comes closer to the body as we release the energies that are keeping the spirit separate.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to learn, to be conscious creators here. I believe this is all of our journey and this is all of our purpose. Really simple. And now what you want to create and what you want to label yourself with, that's a whole nother thing. But you will transform your relationships with your kids, your partners, your job, yourself,
Mhm.
when you get in touch with that.
Yes. And it was funny, the word that was coming to me as you were talking was relationship. So being in right relationship with yourself, this energy, but the present moment. And it sounds like the present moment is really where you're creating because it only exists in that moment.
You're absolutely right. You're
Mm.
absolutely right. If you're anxious,
Mhm.
your spirit, your energy is off into the future,
Mhm.
anticipating, worrying, freaking out, wondering how you're going to do it. I don't know how. What am I going to do? If you're depressed,
Mhm.
your energy's stuck in the past. You can't
Mhm.
get over your relationship, something happened, you're stuck back there. So all the work I do is focused on bringing the spirit into the present.
Mhm.
And I developed a system and tools to bring that all together so the spirit and body can come closer together. And that is where the magic moment is. The power of the presence is
Mhm.
where you manifest, period, end of story.
I
If
love
you're stuck into the future, you're not going to manifest. Things are going to be haywire and it's going to be loop de loop and like a spaghetti path.
yeah.
And it takes a lot more energy and time.
Mhm.
Whatever it is, if it's a career or relationship or health, you got to get grounded. You got to be present.
Mm.
And then along with that comes clarity,
Mhm.
right? You can be more clear and focused and put your intention on that specific thing. and how you want it to create.
Yeah.
So, all of this to say, yeah, we want to manifest, we want to be conscious creators, but when the spirit and body come together, what happens is all your natural spiritual abilities open up.
Yes.
So over the years, many people have commented or contacted me to develop or open their pineal gland.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to smack them in their pineal gland because it's a farce. It's messed up. You can't just open that up. It starts with getting grounded.
Yeah.
It starts with learning about your own energy and balancing those energy centers called the chakras. Learning about that, mastering that, then boom, you're clairvoyant.
And I do believe that, we all have these abilities. We can all tap into these abilities if we choose, and if we, as you say, get grounded to those abilities. Have you ever worked with clients who, this starts to happen to them? They become conscious creators. They can see that they're able to sort of do these things and create from that place of presence, and it becomes a scary place for them.
Well, I'm not sure people are scared about manifesting stuff, but I've had clients recently. I'm thinking of a guy, and he was a bit blown away. It happened so fast. His new job, he barely did anything, and the new job was there. And for him, and especially for men, maybe women too, but I see men, are used to doing A, B, and C. And if you do this, this, and this, you line up your goal, you just work your ass off, and then shit happens, right? You'll get your thing. So we've all been sold a bill of goods. I think we've been lied to through, our institutions of all kinds, from religion to education to our mom and dad. But it's been my own experiment for 24 years of getting more of what I want and less of what I don't want, right? And guiding people through that. What I can tell you is some people, I've had people reach out to me that say, oh my God, I'm seeing this and I'm having dreams. By the way, more of this is happening. Your deceased grandparent's going to show up, or you just knew things before your husband came home and dropped a bomb that he got fired or something. Just knowing these things and seeing these things. It's very, very common to just know. That's the most prevalent ability. However, our abilities, I see it as there's an energetic shift happening in our world, call it the earth and the cosmos. So it is triggering things within people. If you're not prepared or you don't know how to handle it, you're going to shut it down or freak out. Quite honestly, it's an incredible gift. Learning how to decipher the information, and taking, I call it divine right action with the information, is part of the important process of divine creation and or conscious creation. So I've over the years, I've met hundreds of woo-woo types that are completely ungrounded and scarcity minded and can't, manifest, a bank account with some money in it. Like they're scattered, they're all over the place. And so, you can be in a professional role and have, pitiful experience with money.
Yeah.
We all have maybe our aspect that we need to concentrate or focus on, put a little more attention on.
Yeah.
However, if one area is really struggling and suffering, you can bet that the other areas are too. You're just masking it.
You're just masking it.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's my opinion. But again, we're ebbs and flows of our experience too. You might have had a pocket in time where everything was going great and then it broke. What the heck happened? I like to think of ourselves as multidimensional beings of light and energy. So if we're like a moving kaleidoscope of color and patterns, the patterns, if you look in a kaleidoscope, it's always changing.
Yeah.
So if you start to think of yourself as that some things, like an old ticker tape, it will come around again for you to readdress.
That's right.
So having a system is so key, because if we're all of these things, how do you navigate that? How, we as a linear thinking human beings, we want to have a line, and we want it to be like Virgos, especially, like having everything organized and, compartments and where you
Yeah,
can manage it,
yeah,
right? With your
yeah.
brain. This is not so much manageable. So that's why this system is so powerful, because we need a system to be able to plug into. Yeah, because our monkey minds, I'm like you and everybody else, it just
Off on one.
yeah.
And so part of this process that you're talking about is grounding, getting present. And then kind of, it's almost sort of like grounding, getting present, trusting what's showing up. And then what else would you say is required in this system of conscious creation?
I think taking divine right action. I mean, you can be grounded and clear, but not acting on it.
Mhm.
And or you get the signs and the symptoms, or you're ignoring them, or you doubt them. That's one of the biggest things I think that is happening for people, is they're doubting themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big thing that I work with people. Oh, I heard that, Amirah. What I will validate what they're seeing and hearing, because I can see the energy. And they'll like, well, I heard that. I saw that last week, or the week before too. What, you haven't taken action.
That's
Because
right.
why? Because there's some unconscious block
Mhm.
that's like an invisible wall or ceiling that you can't push through. And that's where I talk about the unconscious energy. That's where the energy tools that I teach and I'm gifting you are so incredibly powerful,
Yeah.
because it's helping you flush it out. You don't have to know what it is. You don't have to do 10 years of talk therapy and talk and talk and talk and reinforce it. You get to blast it out like with dynamite. Yeah,
That, that's
I
so
like things quick and easy.
and it's so powerful because, so much of our practices can be, okay, I've got the theory and now I understand, but I'm afraid to actually take that action, which means,
Or you're dismissing what somebody else said works.
yes,
Because why? You want to be right. You want to
yeah,
prove that it doesn't work.
it,
Okay, I've tried these things and they don't work for me.
yeah.
I'm so special. They don't work for me.
I love that. I say to my clients sometimes, are you willing to give up being right, and get curious? Let's get curious
Yeah. And
and allow.
get over yourself to allow the process.
Yeah.
So many of us have experienced it. So why not you?
Yes,
Why
exactly.
not?
Why not? Why not? Oh, Dr. Amirah, I could talk to you for ages, for hours about this. I think it's so important, it's so powerful. You talked about sort of sometimes things not working right and kind of getting that redirect. And I think for our audience who are stepping into this new age, maybe they're having changes in their lives or some kind of transition or what have you, what you're talking about is a way to kind of guide themselves into and through this next phase, into the age of empowerment, but also into that kind of core of really who they are, and being able to act from that place. And so much of what the Build Foundation and the Radiant Rebirth Retreat is all about is really about being able to act from that space of soul aligned or divinely inspired action from the core of who she is. And I want to thank you so much for sharing this wisdom with us here today. I think it's so powerful and so important. Can you tell us how people can get in contact with you if they'd like to know more?
Yeah, I have a website called 90daythrive.com. And our special gift, you'll have the links there, but it's amirahhall.com/stress dash buster. And that's where my gift will be for you to just fill in your details and you can access it immediately. It's the tool that my students and I use every day. It's called Stress Buster because we're flushing out, we're using the cosmic and earth energies to clear hidden and unconscious energies, just to give you a leg up and just start feeling better and trusting yourself more and removing some of that self-doubt. But I really want to emphasize that you're only going to go so far with that. You need a mentor, you need a coach, you need someone to help you
Mhm.
through the unconscious blocks that are keeping you stuck.
Absolutely, because if they're unconscious, we don't know, and so it's good to have somebody there who can guide.
Reflect it back. Yeah. So
Right.
yeah, it's my pleasure. And it seems simple.
Mm.
It is, but it's incredibly powerful. So don't dismiss the power behind it. You'll if you practice it every day for a week or give yourself a month, I promise you, you'll see radical shifts.
Oh, and that's what we're here for. That is what we're here for. Dr. Amirah Hall, thank you so much for everything today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for all your incredible work.